Perfect. All right, ladies, good morning. Welcome back to our 5th training session in the BIC Africa Acceleration Program for Female Entrepreneurs. We have come so far. We were just looking at the schedule and I can't believe our time together is nearly coming to an end in terms of the training, and we have a couple more coaching sessions, but we still have lots to get through. So welcome back. We're so happy to have you here and so pleased at all of the progress that you've been making over these past couple of months. So you all know who I am by now. I'm Danielle Anderson, and I'm here to support you. So if ever you have questions, whether it's during the sessions or after the sessions, please feel free to reach out. I am here to support you just in the same way that all of your other mentors are. So while we get started today, I would like to do a quick check-in with you and to ask for your participation in the chat. So last week we had our coaching session on finances, and it was very eye-opening for a lot of us in terms of understanding more about our beliefs about money, some of the things that are holding us back, what our pricing is looking like, some of the challenges that we're experiencing. So I would love to hear more from you ladies this morning and ask, what financial changes have you made or are you planning to make since we had that last session? Maybe there was something that stood out to you last week that you thought, wow, I really need to make a difference here. I need to do something differently. I can't continue to operate in the same way. So jump into the chat. Let us know, what changes have you made already, or what changes are you planning to make when it comes to your finances? I'll give you all a moment to type things in.
Oui, bonjour à tous. En fait, la question, c'est quels sont les changements du point de vue financier que vous avez déjà fait ou que vous avez envie de faire grâce à la session de la semaine passée? Il y a des changements que vous envisagez pour le futur?
Thanks, Kiara. Ismahan shares, yes, I started my first draft of financial planning. Oh, great. That's fantastic. I'm really pleased to see that, also how it's going. And remember that our financial plans are some things that are always going to be fluid. I remember last year in my business, I set really high revenue targets and then I didn't hit them. And when I didn't hit them, I was devastated. But at the end of the year, when I looked at my finances, I realized that I performed exactly the same as the year prior. And the year prior, I had thought that I'd done so amazingly well. So sometimes our financial plans have to change based on economic conditions, personal conditions, etc. So it's something that you should be reviewing regularly. We have a response in French, Kiara. I think what it says.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, she's registering, like she has planning of the costs and receipts. She said, I don't know actually.
Oh, so like earnings and expenses, yes. I assume. Yeah, perfect. Inez says many changes. What's one of them, Inez? Josephine also says she started her draft financial planning. Cardoza also updated financial planning and it goes well. Great. Inez has been looking at the cost. Perfect. Great. I'm so pleased to see that you ladies have already started to take action from last week's session. As I really shared last week, finances are such an important part of our business for us to get more confident with and us to get more comfortable with, because it really informs so much of our decision making. And Inez says, yeah, she's been looking a lot at costs. So fantastic. Today, we are actually going to be talking more about financial management, and our wonderful trainer today, Monique, is going to be taking us through that. So Chiara, let's move on to the next slide, just so we can see where we are in the program. Okay, so we are training number 5, and as I mentioned, it's going to be about financial management and investment readiness. And then, like I shared a couple of minutes ago, we have 2 more coaching sessions, 1 more training session, and of course, the networking session at the end. So we are far from finished, but it just feels like we're going so quickly. We're already halfway through the program, and so much more information and decision-making to be making over these next couple of months. So without further ado, I'd love to hand over now to Monika. She is going to be taking us through today's session, and I'll allow her now to introduce herself and to start with the content. Monika, over to you.
Thank you so much, ladies. Good morning. My name is Monika Agnes Meszaros, and I'm going to share now the screen with you about my presentation. I hope you can see it well. And to be honest, financial management is not my cup of tea at all. I don't like to deal with paperwork. I think most of the startups, most of the small and medium-sized enterprises, micro enterprises do not like to deal with paperwork. But the good news is that it's very handy when you talk about investment and when you are looking for investors, for example, because then you have documents already ready. You can see reports already ready, and then you don't need to spend time on preparation of additional documents. So today I'm going to talk about financial management and investment readiness, and I have the pleasure to be here with you thanks to the EBN network, and I'm a member of the EBN network since 2016. So I'm going to the slides or topics today in details. I'm going to go in the financial management in details. I'm talking about the definition. I'm going to share with you the types, goals, tools, principles. I'm going to share some practical info because that's the most important for you, some tips and tricks. And I would like to share common mistakes to avoid, because I believe that that is the most important also for companies. And then I would like to invite you for a short break with quiz questions. I'm going to ask you to answer the questions. And then right after, I would like to talk about the investors topic, how to look for investors, how to check the investors' readiness, investment readiness. And I'm going to share with you some really detailed information, how the negotiations are going on with investors. We will check whether you really need the investment at this phase. I will show you the tools, and I will show you some successful tips and also tricks meanwhile of the presentation. And then at the end, I would like to make a conclusion what we were learning together. So about the financial management, what do you think? What is financial management? Last time you heard about pricing, you heard about financial literacy. So I'm sure for now you have a clue what is financial management and why that is important for the company. Let's check the chat together. Maybe someone is already writing what does she think about financial management. Please, ladies, be interactive, and you can just write one word, and then I'm going to tell the others. No one is brave enough at the moment, no worries. Then later on at the quiz time, you can be more interactive. So then I'm going to tell you the definition of the financial management. The financial management is strategic planning, organizing, directing, and controlling of financial undertakings in an organization. Of course, it includes other elements as well, such as applying management principles to the financial asset of an organization, while also playing an important part in fiscal management. Of course, this is the definition in general, but for startups, I would say the financial management is the area responsible for providing resources, all types of resources, not just human resources, of course, so that the entire operation can exist and operate efficiently. Of course, this will lead to the fact that the company can grow. The goal with the financial management is to properly manage the company's capital, strengthen its presence in the market, bet on new investment, and expand its operations. All in all, in a picture, you can see that financial management means a lot for a company. It means finance, it means tax, financial plans, savings, debts. So you need to take care of all these things, all these elements, and then make a nice plan to be able to look in the future. Why it is important? Because you need to survive, you need to grow, and in case you need investment, you need to prepare documents, as I have said earlier. So most of the financial management plans break into these 4 different elements, which is commonly recognized in financial management. As I have said, this is the first one, the planning. Under the planning, you need to identify all the steps which will help to the business to understand the individual objects. You need to take questions for yourself. Have you taken the time to properly establish your business goals and objectives? Do you know what your long-term plans are for yourself, your brand, and your staff? You need to sit together your colleagues, and you need to do plannings from time to time. Each business goal, whether that's profit maximization, business growth, or expansion of services, they will all require financial management from your side, and there will be a lot of steps to make and to get there. Because this is always including financing, budgeting, allocating roles, customer research, and much more. So please take your time, sit together with your colleagues, or first you can sit alone and plan, write it on papers, because that will help to summarize all the steps you need to take in order to have the right financial path. You always need to think of measurable steps. That is the most important, because when you prepare a document related to financial management, it always contains numbers. It should always contain numbers, not just a story. So it should be measurable. The second one under the financial management is the controlling. You need to ensure that each of the aspects of the organization is following the established plan, if you have it already done. Your colleagues should understand all parts of the plan, and you also need to be very, very consistent when you prepare the plan and when you would like to establish it and when you would like to go further and implement it. It's very, very important because, for example, you decide to cut some costs at the company operations. Then you need to always follow what kind of other elements are related to the cost reduction. For example, the KPIs, what is very important for the life of the startup and company. Should it be renewed, adjusted, and so on? You need to always prepare every single line to the necessary changes and check all the company documents if they are in line with the new elements of the financial management documentations. So when you cut the costs, you need to check all the other documents, the KPIs, all the indicators, what you have. And then you need to make sure that all the staff members are following the changes and that they are aware of what is the goal in front of you and how you can achieve that goal. So this is how you can control everything and how you can have everything under your control as the startup manager or startup leader. The third one is the organizing. Decide on what resources are necessary to the changes to effectively take part and carry out the plan. And as I have said, the resources doesn't necessarily mean only HR resources. It can be other resources, and it's just don't refer to material assets and tools. It expands over to staff, roles, budget, funding, technology and software, outsourcing services, and much more. You don't want to start implementing a strategy if you don't even have all the resources at the ready to get the ball rolling. The fourth one is directing and decision making. Why this is important? Make choices after investigating all possibilities and options. Once you have established all alternatives and potential plans, decision makers, just as startup owners and startup managers, must choose which alternative is feasible and matches with goals and objectives. Decision-making will, in fact, coincide with the rest of planning, controlling, and organizing, as each element will need to be confirmed before moving forward with the plan. So you will be the one, as the company manager, who will decide which one is the right path to the company future. So then you need to have the right tools, the right information, the right documentations, always in time, in order to be successful with decision making. That is also the part of the financial management. So all in all, the goals of the financial management. In case you are lucky and you have a financial manager, then his or her responsibility is to keep the company or organization solvent and successful. In case you are still in the beginning of the path as a startup, maybe you are the owner and you are the manager of the startup, so you will be the one who is responsible for the financial manager's tasks. So then the tasks are the following. Maximize current value. The financial manager or managerial teams work to maintain the highest value possible for the company's assets. Why it's important? Because when you go for asking a loan or when you would like to ask investors to invest in your company, they will see the company value. That is why it's very, very important. The other task is to avoid bankruptcy. The financial manager aims to keep the company solvent, meaning it has enough money to continue operations and avoid bankruptcy. Sometimes we have costs which we couldn't see in advance, and then it can cause a big problem in the company or the startup's life. So that's why it's very important to always have all the costs in a documentation or in an artificial intelligence program in your computer to see how much money you still have for costs which were not seen in advance to solve immediate problems. Also, a goal to maximize the profit. Maximizing profit may involve locating opportunities to invest, acquire a competitor, or develop new products. This can involve communications with other divisions, such as marketing or research and development, to create efficient strategies. You need to maximize the profit because that is also a measurable number which is visible in your company paper, in the annual plan. And that is what also investors, banks will check when they consider to provide you a loan or provide you a venture capital or other form of investment. A goal of the financial management is also to minimize the cost. Of course, when you monitor the spending, you look for opportunities to minimize the cost of doing business, such as overhead, manufacturing, and distribution costs. So, for example, you need to consider how much you have for traveling. Do you really need a first class or not? So then you can see the budget, and then you can decide how to minimize the cost. Then, if you can see all the costs, you can communicate these potential changes to the respective management teams and the reasons as well, why you would like to reduce some cost in the overheads, for example, or in manufacturing. The financial management has also roles, of course, and the roles applies ethics to the financial resources of the company. This practice controls all the economic operations of an enterprise, like utilization of funds, procurement of funds, payment, accounting, risk assessment, and everything related to the cash. The roles can be grouped as financial decisions and control, financial planning itself, capital management, allocation and utilization of financial resources, cash flow management, disposal of surplus, financial reporting, and risk management. Of course, these roles should be always in line with all the activities. As I have said, you need to make measurable almost all the roles and almost all the elements of the financial management documentations. So that's why it's important to check the tasks, the roles, and then you need to check what kind of tools can help you to achieve a better performance. It's very, very important because these tools can help you to use your time wisely when you deal with the startup or companies' everyday tasks. So in these slides, I collected the tools, basically the technologies for financial management. And you can see in the different groups what kind of different softwares or applications are available in the market. For example, for payments, for spending management, for payroll and benefits, for capital management, for accounting and reporting, and for financial planning and analysis. Of course, there are free of charge tools and applications available in the market. You can check them. And I also suggest you, if there is an opportunity, please check the technologies which are not free of charge, but offer before a subscription a free term to try them, to use them. Why it is a good tool? Because then you can check something for which you can pay at a later stage, or you can compare with a free of charge tool available immediately. So then you can compare if it's worth to subscribe for that specific application or not. There are really different type of methods. For example, in payments, I'm sure you all know PayPal. I'm sure you all know other technologies included in this slide, like JP Morgan is also well known in capital management. Equista, I will talk about it later because they are very active in the financial field. They prepare information for startups related to investment and investment readiness as well. So here you can see all types of applications which can be used in your company when you want to save time for yourself. It's
Monika,
very
can I
handy.
just add something? Sorry, I just want to make a note to the ladies. Like some of these apps are not going to be accessible in your countries. They may be accessible, but they may not have your currency. So for example, in Kenya, we have access to some of these, but we aren't able to, for example, get easily money from PayPal into our bank accounts. That's changing, but just be aware that, especially for the payment processing, you might not be able to access all of the things that you've shared here. And also for accounting. So like Wave app is one that we used to use here in Kenya, because it had the Kenyan shilling, but a couple of years ago, they announced that they were no longer supporting some of our currencies. So just do your research, make sure that you're looking into things that will support whatever currency you're operating in, and ask around in your networks to see what people are using also. Yeah, the girls are sharing, like same in Somalia and Somaliland. Like they just blanketed said, we're not supporting your currencies anymore, and they exited. So just something to keep in mind.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, as for the tools, we need to group the tools when you talk about financial management and when we talk about how to use these tools. You need some proper tools when you would like to shape your accounting systems, that's for sure. To track the expenses, you need some proper tool for budgeting, for payroll management, and of course, to bill. That's one of the most important tools you need to use. And you can use other tools for inventory tracking and tax preparations. Of course, companies in the beginning, they usually use Excel files and other types of softwares to keep updated their finances. But after a while, you can't really prepare immediately reports from Excels, and sometimes it takes longer than applications or other tools, artificial intelligence-based tools. So as Daniel said, please check what is available in your country. You will get my slides, and you can check from my slides what kind of financial tools are available. You can check whether those are available in your country, and then you can use them. When we talk about financial management, we need to talk about principles as well. As I have said in the beginning of my presentation, the consistency is very important in the everyday life of a company and the startups. And that is included in the principles together with timeliness, justification, documentation, and certification. Consistency is important because transactions must be handled in a consistent manner. That is, policies and procedures have been established to address similar types of transactions in a routine manner. It's important, so then you save time for yourself when you do everything consistency, and it becomes a routine. The timelines, transactions must be handled within a reasonable period of time, consistent with time frames. Why it is important? When you have customers, it's very important to do all the payment-related tasks in time. So that should become also a routine after a while, and the time frame should be always the same. So then they can trust you will act within the given time frame. Justification is important. There must be a reason for the transaction that supports the project goals and adheres to guidelines outlined. So it's very important to justify everything in the financial plan and during the financial management, because it can be that one of your team members will question something, and then you will give the reason why it's important. The documentation itself, it's very, very important, as I have said already earlier, because sufficient documentation is supporting the transaction, and the documentation must be retained, organized, and complete enough to stand up to an audit. From time to time, as a company, you need to go through audit, you need to prepare reports, and when everything is documented well, then you will not have a headache for sure when an auditor is coming and checking your papers and documents. The certification is a principle in financial management. Transactions must be approved and carry all the correct authorizing signatures. It's very important. Of course, in a small startup, most probably the owner and the startup manager is the one who is signing all the documents. But after a while, when your group is growing, then you will have additional persons in the management board, and then you need to always authorizing others with signatures. Other understanding related to principles in the financial management. You need to reduce unnecessary spending. It's very important. Earlier, I already talked about that when you travel somewhere and you can choose between the different classes at a flight, for example, you shouldn't go for the first class if you have a tight budget. You should go for economy one. Of course, in the beginning, it's not a question in most of the startups' life, but after a while, when the startup can make so much profit in a long while, then you feel like, oh, I have a lot of money, so I can spend it to travel more comfortable. But you always need to take care of all the spendings and reduce really the unnecessary ones. Consider your spending and evaluate what is essential and what is not. Unessential costs, for example, may be costly business travel, booked in a hurry to secure a client, or elaborate employee perks designed to attract new talent. In the early days of the startup, those on board should understand that the business comes first, and cutting costs means that when true investment opportunities arise, the funds are available to capitalize. So you need to always think ahead. You need to always think what will be in the future. So please don't do unnecessary spending if possible. It's
Monika,
also advised, yeah.
Sorry, there's a question in the chat from Sandra. She's saying, how do you go about documentation for a business that's already up and running if the financial systems aren't formally structured? How would you be able to structure it going forward if, for example, you have been up and running for a year, but now you want to document and have structured systems in place? So could you talk a bit about like the transition from being informal in your record keeping to becoming more formal?
Yeah, so when you already run a company and you don't have a real structure for financial management, first, you need to sit either alone or with the team members and discuss some basic planning. And first, you should check what kind of documentations and what kind of numbers are already available. Because I'm sure you run the company, but you have for sure either Excel files or papers with written notes or some basic elements, which is necessary to run a company. So first, please gather all the information, what is available. When you can see all the data available, you can group the data and you can see what kind of informations are related to taxation, what kind of information are related to cash flow, what kind of information are related to future planning. And when you group this already documents or ideas, if only available in your mind, then you start the grouping, and then you decide to prepare some documents, because it's very, very important to start somehow, to prepare a summarization of the documents available. So if you already have the documents in different manner, but you didn't call it financial management, and you have it in different systems, you need to check whether there is one application or one artificial intelligence tool which can gather all this information, and then you can just upload all the information once, and then you can work with that application or that software. So this is how I would start. I would definitely gather what I have. I would sit together with my team members, and then I would decide a proper tool to be used.
Thanks, Monika.
I hope it answers the question.
Yeah, we
I'm
have
checking if there is another question, because
there's
can
just quite
see
a lot
that.
of dialogue happening. So it's more like the ladies
Okay.
are sharing that the hard part for them is keeping organized. They start the year well, but they don't stay up to date. And others are in the same boat. So some
Yeah.
recommendations that I made already in the chat is, set aside a bit of time each week, whether it's like 30 minutes or an hour, and just, keep your things up to date. Some of the ladies are sharing that they do it on a daily basis. If you're getting overwhelmed by daily activities, then a weekly basis is even good enough. Marlene says she has the accountant in the company and a third party to check what she does, but she always finds things not done. Only at closing time see everyone running after proof of payment. So yeah, if you feel like some process isn't working properly in your company, it's also for you to stand up and say that it needs to be different, right? Don't feel like just because you have maybe someone external who's supporting you that you have to follow their way of doing things. Remember, you're the boss here. You're the leader of the organization. So if something isn't happening properly, or you want there to be better procedures in place, then it's up to you to put those in place. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks. If you feel like something is not proper, it can be that during the phase of development of the company, you need to change tools and artificial intelligence based applications and so on, because as the company grows, you need to change from certain softwares to another one, and from certain procedures to other ones. So if you are a team member, please let the manager knows and understands that you are struggling with your work because of the software is not proper enough. And then you can check maybe proactively in advance what kind of other tools are available, maybe for free of charge. And then you can suggest for the manager to use that software instead of the old one. And yes, it's a work once to upload all the information in the new software, but then you can work properly and save time after that for yourself. So let's go further with the financial management principles. The emergency fund. The emergency fund is very important in a company's life, because you always see unexpected costs in the business life, such as VAT payments, tax payments, maybe increase raw material price and so on. That's why it's very important to prepare an emergency fund in case you need to spend it on unseen costs in advance. Also, another principle is to monitor cash flows. It's very important. As I have said, you can prepare Excel tables, but you will be struggling when you need to check the cash flow situation from time to time, because the Excel file can't handle many different informations after a while. So you need to have a proper tool related to cash flow management. So I suggest to look for a special application or special software tool to monitor the cash flows, because that will save you a lot of time. Use accounting software. Of course, it's very important. If you have an accounting company which is a different entity than your startup, then they use for sure proper software accounting system. But in case you are a small startup, you don't need to use in the beginning the accounting software, but after a while, when the company is growing, you need to use a proper tool. And it will save you time because it has automation capabilities. It's also able to provide you up-to-date information much faster, as I have said, than the Excel document. And also, these accounting softwares can be synchronized to other business applications. So when you grow, you always need to check what kind of softwares are communicating to each other and can be synchronized, because that can save you also cost and time. Also, another principle in financial management is to raise sufficient funding, because most common reasons in a startup life when they fail is within its fledgling years. It's a simple lack of capital, of course. But as I have said earlier, not all the startups and companies need to have investment at a certain time. So I will talk about later when we will check the investment readiness. But having enough money in the bank when starting the company will mean obstacles, of course, but can be more easily conquered, and it will also reduce your reliance on investors as you get your business up and running. So there are numbers of ways you can go about funding a startup. There are different ways, from bootstrapping, from friends and family, to crowdfunding. But as I have said, I will talk about this later in the investment readiness part. When you take into consideration all of the principles, you will see strategically your company, and then you will be able to avoid problems. Either you are in the beginning of the company life or in the middle. So hereby, I would like to share with you some practical info on financial management, which is related to startups. All the parameters need to be adjusted to the context of the exact company to make sense. This is, of course, the most important information. Adopt innovative management methods that assist in the performing of tasks. Ensure a good working capital. Use a consulting accountant to perform the control activities. Use technology in its favor by choosing programs and systems that facilitate the integration, updating, sharing, unification, and treatment of financial information. Have an aligned, dynamic, and focused team. Constantly monitor the cash flow. Be organized. Do not mix personal accounts with the company's accounts, and know how to organize the company's various accounts by yourself. Make forecasts for future scenarios. Perceive possibilities to grow. Adopt useful indicators that promote corrective actions and validate practices and results. So, common mistakes to avoid, because unfortunately there are mistakes we do from time to time. The first one, underestimating startup and ongoing operational costs. Did you know that 64% of entrepreneurs reported having unexpected costs in their businesses? So be careful and make that emergency fund that I was talking about. Second mistake, making unnecessary purchases or expenses in business life. This is what I was also talking about. Please reduce the cost and save the money for future unexpected business purposes. Third mistake, acquiring too much debt at the onset. In the beginning, you need to have money to start, but then you need to consider, of course, if you need investment. But please be very, very careful, because if you have already in the beginning too much debt, it can cause problems at a later stage when the company would like to develop. The fourth mistake is mispricing products or services. The previous speaker was talking about the pricing, so hopefully you already found the proper method for your product or services. This is also very important, and there are common mistakes companies and startups do. The mistake 5, not budgeting and saving. always planning. As I have said, it's part of the financial management. So you need to spend time on planning, either alone or with your company members. The mistake 6, no proper bookkeeping and accounting. It's very, very important. I'm sure in your country you have services, maybe free of charge in the beginning, or maybe for a lower amount according to the income of your company. Please check the different bookkeepers and accounting system, because I'm sure you can find one which can fit within your budget. The mistake 7, mixing personal and business bank accounts. Please never do it. It's very, very important, because then you will lose the line, and then you will not be able to check what was done with the business and what was your personal spending. And also it will cause very, very bad effects on the bookkeeping and accounting issues. Mistake 8, not researching taxes and their business implications. You need to always check. Maybe the tax office at your country can help you to find incentives, business incentives. You always need to check what kind of taxes should be applied to your services, and then they can help you to find business incentives as well. And then it will save you money. But if you don't search for it, then you will not find proper information. So this was about the financial management. I know the paperwork is the one no one likes, especially in business life. You would like to concentrate on your production, on your business services, and do not want to spend much time on documentation. But be very careful, because if you don't do so, then you will struggle after a while, because you will have all information in different documents. You will not find it in time, and then you can't grow. So that's why it's important to have something simple, a system, and to have the routine from the beginning for financial management. So now I would like to play a bit. I prepared a quiz. So I would like to invite you for a short game. I will ask 5 questions. There will be answers. And then I would like to ask you to write me in the chat which one is not correct from the answers. Now I'm going to stop share this slides and open the quiz questions. Please be prepared, because after my presentation, I'm sure it will be easy for you to say what answer is not correct. So let's share the quiz. I hope you can see it. So the first question is, what is not included in the 4 elements of the financial management according to the mentioned definition? Here are the answers: strategic planning, organizing, controlling, applying for funds, and directing. And please answer in the chat which one is not the 4 elements. Yeah, I can see. I can see ladies are answering the D. Absolutely, you are right. So it's good that you already understood how the financial management build up. Applying for funds is absolutely not included in the financial management. Super, you are super, ladies. Second question, what is not a goal of financial management? Maximize current value, avoid bankruptcy, apply for intellectual property patent, maximize profit, minimize cost. So for the second question, I would like to see the answers. Ladies, you are again super. You are super. The C, absolutely. Apply for intellectual property patent is not a goal of financial management. Super. Thank you so much. Third question. What is not included in the roles of the financial management according to the mentioned elements? Third question. Answers. Capital management, application management for funds, cash flow management, risk management. So what is not included in the roles? For the third question, the answer, yes, the B. Super. Ladies, you are amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Fourth question. What is not included in the mentioned principles of the financial management? The answers. Reduce unnecessary spending, prepare an emergency fund, monitor cash flow, use marketing software. The answer is the D. Yes, thank you, ladies. Thank you, ladies. Amazing work, amazing work. Super. And then the last quiz question. What is not a common mistake in financial management at a startup? Underestimating startup and ongoing operational cost, making necessary purchases or expenses in business, acquiring too much debt at the onset, mispricing products or services, not budgeting and saving, no proper bookkeeping and accounting, mixing personal and business bank accounts, not reaching taxes and their business implications. Yes, this was a tricky one. I'm sorry, because I was changing a bit the text, but I can see that you were very, very sharp. It's the B. So 5B, making necessary purchases or expenses in business, because it was, as I have said, making unnecessary purchases. But what is not a common mistake, making necessary purchases. So this was a tricky one, but I can see that many of you understood it very well, that it's the B. So sorry, it was maybe a bit vicious one from my side, but I wanted to make it more interesting. And thank you so much for being interactive, because I can see from the answers that you were listening carefully for my presentation. And I know it's a very dry presentation, because it's about financial management. So you can't really make it very lively, but with this quiz, I hopefully was able to help you to understand even a bit better what are the elements of the financial management, what are the roles, the goals, what are the tools available, and what are the common mistakes. So then you will be able to shape your documents very carefully, or if you already have the documents, you can find the proper tools to be used, and you will be able to manage the financial expenses very well and easily in time. Thank you so much, ladies, for the attention until now. Now, if you would like to have a short break with questions, I'm up to answer the related questions to this topic. Maybe Daniel, you can help me if there was a question coming from the ladies still related to financial management, because then I would like to answer it before we go to the investment readiness part.
Yeah, I think we covered the ones that they had shared before, but ladies, if you have any other questions related to financial management, please pop them into the chat so we can make sure that those are answered. Christina, could you also ask our French ladies for the same?
Yes, of course. N'hésitez pas de poser les questions à Monika si vous avez encore des questions par rapport à ces sujets avant qu'on passe à la sujet prochain. Merci.
Thanks,
Vous
Christine.
pouvez écrire aussi dans le chat si c'est plus facile.
Asna saying is the possibility to use a company to handle that section is considered. Is that a question, Asna, or you're just stating that you want to consider using a company? A question. So Monika, she's asking, is it like should they consider using a company to handle financial management for them? Is that right, Asna? Have I interpreted correctly?
Yeah, so I got it. Thank you so much. When you start alone, how to manage to make everything? This is another question. Okay, so what I suggest is to use a bookkeeper from the beginning of the company life. According to my experience, I also run a small company, and since 2014, that was a big help for me to help a special advice from a bookkeeper. And meanwhile, I was changing bookkeeper 2 times because as the company developed, my business consultant company, I had to look for a new bookkeeper from time to time because I was applying for funds. So then I had a bookkeeper who was able to understand that special activity. Then I had to look for another bookkeeper because there was a structural changes within the company. So then they needed to be aware of different regulations and tax incentives. So the bookkeeper is my secret weapon, I would say, from the beginning. For financial management, I really don't think that for a small company it should be outsourced. Why? Because there are very good artificial intelligence based sourced softwares, applications, what you can use. So this is my experience. But I often talk to startups, and everybody has different activities, and I can't say that something is really proper for one and the other as well, because the activities are very different. So you need to understand if you really cannot handle it. So then first you should ask a company member whether that person can take over the financial management tasks as a financial manager, if you don't really want to deal with it, or in case there is no such an experienced member of the team, then you can look for an expert who is not working for the company, but maybe part-time supporting this activity. I would say that it's different from company to another company, but please be aware that if the financial management is not proper, then your company can fail, can go bankruptcy. And it's really a big problem, because if someone is not handling the cash flow properly, then if an unexpected cost is happening, it can cause a very big problem in the company. So it's different in all the companies. So it should be tailored to your activities. Either a company member can take over this task from you if you don't want to deal with it, or you can look for a part-time expert who can help you. But the bookkeeping, I really suggest you to have a bookkeeper from the beginning, to have the invoices at least ready for audit if it's necessary.
Monika, Sandra has asked a follow-up question. Can you clarify a little bit more about the differences in roles between a bookkeeper and a financial manager / accountant?
Yeah, absolutely. So the bookkeeper is the one who is preparing the annual financial report for the government or for the country institute, the tax authority. And they are the ones who can handle all the incoming invoices and all the invoices the company made. The financial manager is responsible for the overall financial activities of the company or startup. So the financial manager is keeping updated the numbers for cash flow management. They can prepare the budgeting, they can prepare the controlling activities, they can prepare financial analysis for the manager. So this is the difference of the bookkeeper and the financial manager. The bookkeeper just see the invoices. The financial manager is the one who is aware of the professional activities, and also he or she is aware of the numbers, the financial numbers of the company. I hope it makes sense like this. Super. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you. If there is no other question, then let's talk about the investors and investment readiness, because that is also a very important part for the life of the startups and companies. So within this part of the presentation, I'm going to talk about pure facts, what the investors are looking for. I will tell you what is due diligence, what is common eligible criteria for investors, how we can group the different type of investors, what is the way to find an investor, what are the tools available, and of course, I'm going to give you tips to be successful with the investors if you are looking for one. First of all, I would like to show you maybe a shocking slide, because according to the numbers, out of 10 startups, 4 will fail, 2 will survive, and 2 will thrive. So only 2 will be able to develop after a while, 2 will survive and going on, but will not able to develop, and 4 will fail. It's a shocking number for me too, because I was checking what to talk about. And then I was thinking like, okay, the most important information for these ladies is the statistics about how many of them will be able to survive and develop after a while, because then you will be able to see it in an objective glass, whether you will look for an investor or not. And then I was thinking, what could be the most useful for you ladies when I'm talking about how to look for an investor, how to look for investors. I think the most important is to understand and to support you to understand what they are looking for, because they are looking for different information. But as I have said, first you will understand whether you really need an investment or not. If you can survive and develop without an investor, please do not think of and do not consider to look for an investor, because then you can make it without one. But if you believe that with an investor, you will be able to make much more profit than only with your team and with the ability and with the skills what you already have, then go alone without the investor. But if you consider to look for an investor, I will talk about it later, there are different types of investors, but what they are looking for, that's very important to understand. The investors look the different part of the activities. We were talking about financial management, and of course, if you are able to prepare immediately in time information for the investors about your company in numbers, that's a very, very handy information and very, very handy document for the investors. They will look for the team, what kind of team you have, what kind of expertise, skills you have, who is who, of course, it's important, how long that exact person is working for the company, what the person is doing. They will look for the market demand from the market. So you need to include this information in a document if you look for the investor. They are looking for solutions for problems. So they see the business opportunity and they see the product and service as the solution for a problem in the market. They will look for whether the product or service is scalable, because that also means that a bigger profit can be achieved. Of course, feasibility is also very important. They will check the proposition of the company, and they will check whether you look for coach and advice or just simple money to be invested in the company. And then the exit potential is also something what they will check during the negotiations phase. What they usually do, due diligence. The EBN, who is facilitating this BIC Africa program, was participating in a so-called Empowering Early Stage Investors project. And I was a partner in that project from Hungary. And what I learned during the business discussions was that the due diligence is going on at the companies at almost all investors related business discussions. They will check the teams and values, the board and shareholders, the innovation and the product, the market access, scalability and protectability, business model and financials. So that's why financial management is important, valuation and terms, and they will check the exit perspectives. What are the common eligible criteria? For sure, you need to have a disruptive solution to address a real need for a sizable target within sufficient purchasing power. We always talk about disruptive innovation when we talk about investors. And to imagine what is disruptive innovation, I tell you the story. The internet was the part of the everyday life of people, but how the Facebook, for example, changed the customers' behavior was really amazing, because we started to use the internet in a different way. And that was really making a big market potential. And that was the basically that was the clear success of how the Facebook was really making its big profit in this world, because they were able to change the customer's behavior. So the disruptive solution is something which can change the customer's behavior. So if you have a product or service which will for sure change the customer's behavior, like the Facebook was doing with the internet routines, then you will be for sure able to succeed. What other common eligible criteria are there? The technical proof of concept done or prototype to be completed. Most of you are already in the phase when you already have a product or service. That is important. But if you don't really have so, then please work on it, at least to have a prototype ready. They check the high growth, at least they want to see the turnover to be doubled at least per year. They will check the long-term peak sales ambition, 10 million euro, more than 10 million euro. They will check the entrepreneur readiness to include investors into the startup governance. They will check the exit scheme if it's clear and below 7 years for the investors. They will check funds should go to a specific development stage with clear deliverables that will increase the startup value for a given type of subsequent investor. So these are the common eligible criteria. And then I can show you the different types of different investors, because different groups usually show a different manner how they group the investors. This one was prepared in this ESIL project with the EBN, and I think it's very well visualizing for you what kind of money is there in case you are mature enough to receive it and to implement a success by using that money. In the first phase, yes?
Sorry, there was a question in the chat from Sandra asking what is an exit scheme? I think it's related to your previous
Yes,
slide.
very important. Very important. Sorry. The exit scheme, I go back. The exit scheme is one of the most important factors for the investors. They calculate for how long they would like to be present in your company. And of course, they see the numbers, the scalability, the profitability, and so on, and they do calculations, and they want to do an exit before 7 years. What is the exit? They invest a certain amount of money in the company, and they want to make profit, and they want to exit the company with a big amount of profit, of course, and then they want to invest that money in another company. So the investors are not forever staying in the company. And that is also a good question from the point of view when we talk about startups. It's very important also for a startup manager to understand whether he or she would like to stay with the startup forever, or she just want to scale it up and after she would like to sell it. Because it's an option, and of course then the person can do another company and another startup, and this is what is called serial entrepreneurship. A lot of business people do this, to set up a startup, then exit, and then do another startup. So the investors are always thinking with this exit scheme. And the exit scheme is about, they want to make a big profit. And by taking out that big profit, of course, through the negotiation with the startup manager and startup owner, they always talk about this exit scheme, how it will look like, and how they will able to share the profit. So that's always the part of the discussion, the exit scheme. Someone is commenting that it's like a formal mafia. No, money, the business is about money. People want to make money, and investors have money, so they want to earn more money. So that's simple the fact, and that's why they want to exit a company after a while. Of course, you have the right to choose among the different type of investors, and also they are related to the size of the company. So maybe for you in the beginning, a family member will be the investor with a small amount, or you will just go for crowdfunding or a business angel. And a later stage here down, you can see, for example, the seed money, as we called, it's up to 200K. So 200,000 euro, for example, that can be asked by family members, friends, by crowdfunding platform. You can apply for prizes and grants. And the business angels are the next level. That's between 200,000 euro and 2 million euro. That is called startup investment. And still, of course, there is the family members, of course, if they are wealthy enough. The next level can be the venture capitalist and also the bank. And you can see that, for example, the banks are interested in most of the cases for bigger amount, let's say 2 million, starting from 2 million euros. But of course, it doesn't mean that in your country, a bank is not willing to give you a loan of $200,000. So you need to check always in the exact country, and you need to check what kind of opportunities are there. Of course, there are other different groupings. For example, the Equista, I was talking about it when I was showing the tools. The Equista was preparing a very good grouping, types of investors every startup must have. And then they include also the requirements. So for example, they say that for banks and investors, you need to see clearly the goals and strategy to achieve the business goals. And you need to have a product and service description. Meanwhile, personal investors ask rather a cover letter, which has the possibility to do storytelling, and they ask a pitch and a business plan. Of course, the business plan will be, in this case, a summary. The venture capitalist, meanwhile, ask a one-pager executive summary. The one-pager is an executive summary, and they ask a 10 pages maximum business plan and a pitch deck. The angel investors would like to see an excellent founders team. They would like to see the market size and competitors, the projections of revenue and gross margin, and the market opportunity, the problem you solve. Also, the fundraising disruptors will ask a pitch deck, but they already ask a product demo, or if you have already the product or service they would like to see, and they like to visualize everything. And then the crowdfunding platform would like to check the business strategy, the pitch deck, the executive summary, and an income statement. So there are differences between the various actors. And here I would like to show you, for example, the crowdfunding, the different crowdfunding models. The crowdfunding is basically the one when you apply for a web page, and then you would like to get a certain amount to be able to go to the next level of the company in the developing. And there are different types of crowdfunding. For example, there is an equity-based, reward-based, lending-based, and donation-based. Already the names tell you what are the differences. And basically, this crowdfunding, I go back to the slide, can work out for companies at a certain amount of money, basically between 200,000 euro and let's say 1.5 million euro amount. The business angels are a bit different than the other actors of investors, because they rather like to participate in the life of the company. So that's why I thought it would be better to talk about a bit more the business angels. So I have some information about them, because they also a type of mentor or coach in the company life. The business angels usually have a working concept, and they work with companies who have already a prototype or a product or service ready. And they would like to see that you have at least pilot clients. So maybe you don't have yet customers, but you have pilot clients. The company already should be ready, so legally registered. And they like to see 2, maximum 4 founders in a company who are working on the project completely in their full time. And they are looking for money between 200,000 euro and 2 million euro in the coming 4-6 months. They do a screening in the beginning. They ask a pitch in the beginning. Of course, they do the business due diligence, and then they do the negotiation. It can go different rounds, and then they ask certain terms, so you can negotiate with them the terms, and then they prepare the closing. Of course, they also have exit investment, as all the investors, usually 5-7 years after the first work, the first day, they like to exit. And there are different types of exit. This is also very good for you to know, because it can be that you agree on the business angel that you sell the startup to a larger company. Of course, you make a big profit. That's why I was talking about it, that you need to know what you want to do with your startup or with your company. You want to make profit and sell it at a later stage and start a new business, or you want to stay in the company life forever. Because if this question is clear, then you can do the negotiations very easily. Also, it can be that you as a startup owner stay within the startup, and then only the share of the business angel, because of course they ask a special share of the company, and only that share will be sold for a larger company. Sometimes also they sell the shares to the owners, so then the company will be again 100% in the hand of the previous owner or the startup founders. Of course, also another level of investment can arrive by a venture capitalist, for example. So then the business angel can negotiate with a venture capitalist to sell their share. Of course, the company can go bankruptcy. It's also an option, unfortunately. So then the exit investment is going to be finished by that one. And rarely it can be that an intellectual property right ownership will be taken from the company to another company, and that will mean the exit investment. Because of course, in a company life, in a startup life, different patents can be implemented, and then one can be bought out, and then that will be the exit strategy of the business angel. How you can find business angels? Very easily in your surroundings, You can find in accelerator institutions, banks who have business angel service, business angel networks exist. And of course, on international level, there are very active business angels. So they act not only within a country, but they act also cross-border, and they act on international level as well. They are basically private individuals, private persons who invest their own money. Why they do that? To make money, to mentor, to socialize, to acquire entrepreneurial track. Mostly in the European Union, the business angels are either retired ex-entrepreneurs or active business executives who like to invest in other startups and other businesses, executives in transition, or up-and-coming future entrepreneurs. But the most common in Europe that they are ex-entrepreneurs or retired entrepreneurs who have enough money to invest in different startups as business angels. They can spend, of course, time to mentor and coach the exact startups, so they can spend time with them. Ways to find investors offline and online. Of course, as I have said, you can find investors around yourself, because I'm sure you go for business meetings, you go for conferences, B2B meetings, boot camps, workshops, and so on. But maybe you don't know at the moment that there are business angels around you. You can find business angels online at LinkedIn. Most of you have business profiles there, and also BIC Africa has a business profile there. So you can find their investors with shared passions, because investors also like to see what is the activity of the startup and company, because if that is the same passion, then if the calculations are right related to the profit, then they can invest in the exact company. Also, you can find an investor by expanding your circle and ask for introductions. Please never go to someone by saying that you want to be introduced in general to someone and make this introduction as a general one, because then you will fail. How to do the introduction? Please do it in a way that you already share the information, how much money you need and for what, because then for sure you will not fail. Because if you do it in a general way, they will not be interested. If you give a hint in the introduction about why is your passion this company, how much money you need and for what kind of development, then they will immediately be interested. So please do your homework, prepare a one-pager about your company and about your activities before you start to look for an investor, in case you need one. Because if you prepare this one-pager is an executive summary about who are you, what you do, why you do, when you do. So let's say within 1 year, where you are going to be with the company. And please also include the status quo, how much money you need and for what kind of development you need that, or for what purpose. If you make this one-pager and if you ask someone around yourself to introduce you to a business angel or venture capitalist or a private loan provider, you can send immediately this one-pager, and then the person will see immediately why your passion is this company. And if the passion is the same, then they will ask you for a business meeting. And then it's up to you whether you will be successful or not. Of course, meet the investors where they are. They are always looking for companies and startups at conferences, B2B meetings, hackathons, co-working spaces, trade shows and conventions or incubators. So please, if you have time, visit these places and have a coffee with people who is already involved in this kind of investors, business angels, venture capitalists, bank people, and ask the not general introduction and send the one-pager, because then you can be succeeding. Also, get more involved in your community. Don't forget to look around you, because sometimes we don't think that a business angel is around us, but we just don't know that person is doing business angel activities. Also, local chamber of commerce and industries, associations, small business act community groups. Also, they do a lot of activities. So if you go to an activity like a conference or congress, or you go to a business school, for sure there will be investors looking for the right business opportunities. Seek support from family and friends. When you ask a family and friend for a loan or for a support to be an investor, please be very carefully to avoid damaging your personal relationships. Be clear what you really need. For example, you need a loan, short-term, long-term, mid-term, and so on. Or you just need an introduction to someone, or you need an equity investment. Please always be honest with them, provide all the necessary information, a comprehensive business plan, and then if they ask a documentation, please provide it in time. Of course, they will be able to see the weaknesses of the company better, but believe me, they will be the one who will, if they have enough capital, they will give you if you need for the company development. If they will be at that stage, they will be very, very happy to help you. Also, explore the crowdfunding and brand building opportunities. Maybe the crowdfunding is the best way for you. It's increasing very, very much. It's a very popular tool to raise initial funding for innovative products. So the crowdfunding is working for those who have innovative products. Of course, meanwhile, you can also have time allocated to build your brand. Building a brand can be easily done thanks to a crowdfunding campaigns, because it has enough amount after a while to do so. So many companies do this to start crowdfunding campaigns to be able to prepare and to manage the brand, because it's very, very costly starting to prepare the logos, until to prepare leaflets and so on, and prepare social media activities and do advertising. So also to build your brand can help you, because you start to write blogs, for example, or you start to send out newsletters, or you just apply for social media applications. Then an investor can check your profile and say, hey, we have the same interest, we have the same passion. I like your story behind your company activities, so I would like to ask you for a business meeting. So that's also a good tool. And of course, there are many, many artificial intelligence tools which can help you to find investors and funding opportunities. It's also different, related to the different activities of the companies. So, for example, the pitch book is a very powerful platform, and it helps you to give comprehensive data insight about companies and investors and transactions. So it's very popular among investors, bankers. So I would say that this pitch book is very, very good for companies who are looking for valuable assistance and would like to navigate the complex world of investing and fundraising, because there are so many informations, but this is the one which helps with different machine learning algorithms to localize data and to find investors geographically, and it has very user-friendly features. There is another one called Crunchbase to support you to find investors. It's also very comprehensive one. It's a bit more for startups than rather than companies, and basically it helps users to search and filter through large amount of data quickly and efficiently. Overall, this tool make the entrepreneur's life very easy to seek and to identify potential investors and secure the funding for business ventures. There are also other ones. The next one is called CB Inside. There you can find a bit more venture capitalists than on the other mentioned platform. And it also has an emerging technology trends part within the website. Of course, it's also working with machine learning, and it's also widely used by investors. Overall, this is helping to secure funding for your business ventures and to find investors. And basically, it's more related to venture capitalists, as I have said. So if I would make a suggestion, venture capitalists go to this CB Insights, rather the startups investors go to Crunchbase, while other investors go to PitchBook. But of course, you can check all of these tools. These are available, and there is also a so-called deal room. This is also an artificial intelligence based one, and it's also widely used. It has a very user-friendly interface, and it can quickly locate and analyze the data, what you include in it as a company, and then it provides the valuable insights. It's also very easy to navigate with this one. And the last one is Spinbase. It offers also almost the same opportunity. If you have time, I suggest you to try all of these platforms if you are looking for investors, because it can be that there are different actors at the different databases. It has also an advanced search functionality related to industry, location, and other relevant criteria. So how to be successful when you look for an investor? Here are my tips. Increase traction. This is the first and most important thing. If people buy your product, it means you are on to solving a real problem for a real market. This is the most important when an investor is looking for investment. The second one, achieve target outcomes. Executing your business plan to achieve target outcomes in your planned time horizon is the best way to gain interest and funding. So please have a provable track record, and have financial plans and do the financial management, because then you will be succeeding with achieving target outcomes as well. Be clear about financial goals. When you talk to an investor, of course, they want to hear big amount in profit, but stay reasonable. They also know that Rome was not built in a day, so a company couldn't succeed within a day either. So when pitching to an investor, please stick to the goals which is in your financial plan, and try to be reasonable with the numbers, and always include numbers, because that is what they like to see behind of the story, the life story and the company story. Demonstrate your company's value. When you would like to talk about your product or company, the value is basically already in the eyes of the customers. What problem do you solve? What result could you expect, and could they expect? When you answer these questions, your customers and investors will better understand your business. Also, these kind of suggestions can be used when you prepare your one-pager about your company, which is the executive summary. As I have said, it's very important to have it in hand when you send it out for looking for investors. Know your team and market. It's also very important. The team is important. What kind of persons are there? Since how long they are supporting the company? What is their passion? And also they want to see investors that also the persons at the team bring their skin in the game, because they give money, but they also want to see that the company persons are very, very committed to have this success. The present a solid business plan with a strong return on investment forecast. This is also very important. The business plan, I'm sure you were already heard about from other speakers. It should be always ready when you go to a bank, already for a small amount of loan. It's also important for business discussions with investors, and the investors also want to see the return on investment projections when you see that the investment will be feasible and when the profit can be made with the company and with the investment. Discuss always the trajectory of your company. The best way to get investor attention is having traction and demonstrate the trajectory of the company. So that is also an important factor. Show your company's growth through story context. So the storytelling is also important to be included in all materials. But of course, in the executive summary, don't make it a very long one, because the investors also want to see the numbers. Define the problem and how you solve it. They want to see that there is a problem in the market and your product and your service will be the one who can solve that problem. Investors evaluate your company's value not only through its assets, but also based on your vision and the system you have built or plan to build related to the problem you would like to solve. Emphasize your growth opportunities. Of course, they want to see where you will be in the future, within 1 year, within 2 years, within 5 years. So it should be detailed in the business plan, what you see as growth opportunities. Utilize your network. I can just repeat myself that you need to look around yourself, build up your own network, because you need to utilize it from time to time. Once you find a person, a potential investor, then you will provide them with an email, including the short summary, the one-pager, and then they can decide whether they want to invest in your business or not. Express your passion for building a sustainable business. I'm sure you are all very passionate person about what you do, what you make as a product or what you provide as a service. Please show it when you pitch, because the investors would like to see the passion in your face when you talk about your company or business, basically what is your small child, we can say. Integrate subscription-based models. Investors really like nowadays the subscription-based models, because a lot of followers will lead to profit. So if you can integrate it in your business model, please do that. Understand your product and what sets it apart. As a company owner, they want to see the investors that you fully can explain the financial model and the product and the service you provide, and the driving business model and the viability behind of the product and service. Describe your company and its value in 2 sentences. Investors hear tons of pitches every day, and of course they need to have an instant click to say yes for your company offer. So please try to prepare a very, very short introduction, like an elevator pitch. You will have later on a discussion and a presentation about how to pitch. I'm sure you will talk about this. You need to be able to provide some sentences about your company with passion in an elevator for someone who you don't know. And then maybe that person will introduce you to someone, or maybe that person is investor. So this is basically the investment readiness part. There are various checklists free of charge available at the internet. You can check it if you are really looking for an investor. But as I have said, investment is not for all companies. So please be careful when you think of whether you need an investment or not. And if you really need an investment, please think carefully what kind of investment is proper for your activities. So this is my suggestions to have it as homework for your startup and for your company, to prepare a one-pager according to the answers of the following questions. Think of what kind of investment your company would need at the moment. Do you really need that investment at this moment? Why you need that? Why exactly that type of investment you need at that moment? And as I have said, if you prepare this executive summary one-pager and answer the questions, who are you, what the company is doing, why the company is doing that, the time frame, the product or service description, and you answer the most important questions for how much you want to sell something, the product, or for how much you would like to provide the service. What is your future goal related to the profit? And the answers will provide you basically the one-pager, which you can show to investors and send them when you ask an introduction. The conclusion is from my side the following. Entrepreneurship requires having the right mindset. Trusting yourself is my advice to bear in mind. You are participating in this BIC Africa program for a reason. You are among the first ones who succeeded as a startup or as a company. You are a female leader. Believe me, if you trust yourself, you can reach the stars at the sky, because there is no impossible, and you can do everything in your business with a profit, I'm sure. Please be careful when looking for investors. I'm going to share with you my slides and also some additional documents which may be not visible right on the slides. I'm going to share it with Danielle and with Chiara, so then they can send it to you. So I really hope that you will be able to manage the financial tasks of your company, or you will find the right person to do it. And I hope you will be able to decide whether you need an investment at this moment or not. And if you need an investment, you will be able to find the right investor. Now it's time for the questions, and I thank you very much for your attention. Please take the questions in the chat, and then I can see it and answer it. Thank you so much.
Si vous avez des questions, merci de les mettre dans le chat ou les poser. Merci à vous.
Lots of thank yous coming in from Josephine, from Marlene.
Yes, thank you, Marlene, for sharing this information. I think it's very important to organize at first and then to start to look for investors, because if your documents are ready and updated regularly, then if they ask a specific information, you can immediately send, because it means also the instant click for them if someone is prompt. Thank you so much. I answered the questions through the presentation. Thank you so much for sharing this. I'm happy if I could help you. And of course, I have my data, so we can stay in touch, and you can approach me anytime. I have 2 email addresses. I use both of them, and you can reach me via WhatsApp. So if you have a question at a later stage, just feel free to contact me.
Great. Thank you so much, Monika. Super insightful, very useful information. I think that the ladies have realized that there's some work to be done in this space. So just a reminder, ladies, to reach out to your mentors, get them to help you, especially with this one pager that Monika has recommended that you put together. You know, that's what your mentors are there for, to assist you with as well. So bring these tools to them and allow them to help you as well. Oh, Sandra does have a question here. Is there a standard format for the presentation of the business documents, or is it different with every investor?
Yes, it's different with every investor. They can ask specific documentations, but I'm going to share with you this slide, which was not really visible by Equista types of investors every startup must have. It was a blue one with white letters. I will share it with you in a separated document, so then you can check it, because that contains all the requirements the different investors ask, from banks through venture capitalists until business angels, so you will understand it. But as Daniel said, the one pager is the most important. So if you have it ready, you will be able to approach a business loan or a venture capitalist or any type of investors.
I think as your businesses progress and you reach out to different types of investors, you'll change some of the information from time to time, because different people will be looking for different things. For example, an angel investor may really want to understand what your impact looks like, and you might focus more on the impact that you're making and how you're making that impact. Whereas if you're going to a traditional bank and asking, for example, for a loan, the bank is going to be more interested in understanding, what does your customer base look like? What does your growth look like? How do you intend to earn this money over the next few years, so that they can see that you're willing to pay back this loan that they're giving to you? So although your company information will remain the same, the bit that you highlight or that you emphasize might change depending on who you're speaking to. Great. Any other questions, ladies? You're welcome. All right, so let's move on to the final slides. Oh, one more. Chantal, is AI platform that effective when looking for investors? How would you rate it?
It can be efficient, very efficient. For basically, I would suggest that for technology intensive companies, because they rather understand at the AI platforms this type of startups and companies than traditional ones. So if you have an innovative disruptive technology, then I would definitely go for an AI platform. Otherwise, it's less success, I would say, than with a traditional product or service. I would rather look around myself to check my own country, because the AI platforms give the chance for international investors, so they look for disruptive innovations, technological innovations.
And remember, ladies, it doesn't always have to be you that does this research, right? You can get maybe somebody on your team to do it. You could perhaps even bring in an intern to do it, someone who's doing like a research project for university and wants to learn about the landscape. So, you know, utilize other people in your network, and don't feel like the burden is only on you to find out people that you could potentially approach. Of course, you yourself would probably be the one that goes to the investor and starts those conversations. But when it comes to the research part, you can always use other people to do that for you, even if it's not an AI bot. Okay, great. So let's go on to the final slides just so we can let you know what's coming next. So next week, we're going to be doing our third coaching session. And next week is going to be about storytelling marketing. Now, what do we mean by storytelling marketing? All of us have a unique story to tell. It can be our personal stories, it can be our business stories, it can be stories about our clients, testimonials, stories about our products and services, stories about the impact that we're trying to make with our businesses. And all of those different stories can be used in very efficient ways when it comes to marketing, when it comes to getting other people to know about your business. So storytelling is different from pitching. Pitching, you're still talking about your business in a very specific way so that you can get an end result, whether that's investment or support or, you know, people coming on board to be employees. But storytelling is broader. You know, you'll have so many stories within your business that you want to talk about. And so next week is about helping us to understand, what is your story? How is it that you're going to use it? And what are the best ways to get that information out there? So in preparation for next week, if we can just move to the next slide. Yeah. So in preparation for next week, you know, start to think about some of the stories that you have, you know, whether it's stories about yourself and why you started your business, or why you're passionate about the thing that you're doing in your business. Perhaps you have stories about your products and services. Perhaps you have stories about your clients. Start to think about what some of those different stories look like, and that will help you prepare for next week's coaching session. Okay. And then don't forget all the sessions, recordings, and PowerPoint presentations and other tools that we offer to you are in this Google Drive. And to make Kiara as happy as possible, please fill in this Google form. It's the same form that we ask you for every week, but it helps us to make every session more meaningful. And of course, like future iterations of the program can be more impactful as well. So your voice matters, your opinion matters. All right. Thank you so much, ladies. We will see you all again next week. Monika, thank you so much for your intelligence, your insights, your candid sharing. It's super insightful, and I hope the ladies reach out to you if they have further questions.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the ladies to be interactive. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you, ladies. See you next week.